and volatile environment politically as well.
Along those lines, I mean, he also says, and I want to be clear, Donald Trump this is a rolling interview that he's having on another network right now that was pre-taped, but I want to play what he said about the public and him going to jail, because I think that makes your point very clearly, Ruth.
I don't know that the public would stand it. I'm not sure the public would stand for it. I think it would be tough for the public to take. At a certain point, there's a breaking point.
He, Michael, goes on to say, at a certain point, there is a breaking point. We have never seen something like this before in the United States, right, Michael, from a former U.S. president? I mean, even Richard Nixon didn't go this far.
No, not a bit. Did you see Eisenhower do something like this? Say, let's have domestic terrorism to resolve who's going to be the next president. And this is, just as Ruth has said, this is a thread that goes through Donald Trump back to the early rallies of late 2015. Remember when he used to say, and this was novel at the time, it's now become old hat with him, look at those, reporters in the hall, mainstream press, they're bad people. And the audience would boo, and some people were worried that there would be violence by some people in the hall against reporters and other journalists who were trying to report on what was going on. That went right back to George Wallace. George Wallace was not a major party candidate, but he ran as a third-party candidate in 1968 on a racist platform of at least latent violence and promise of violence. He used to say, for instance, if a college protester lies down in protest in front of my car, that'll be the last car he ever lies down in front of. And watching all that was Donald Trump in Queens in 1968. Trump was a Nixon supporter. Nixon's whole approach in 1968 was to say, the country is in chaos. There are riots in the cities. You can't walk safely in New York or Washington. And in the world is in chaos. The United States cannot cope with Vietnam or North Korea or other second-rate powers who are challenging our supremacy. Trump, and especially the people around him, are in love with that. They would love to get to October and there are riots in the cities and chaos in the world so that you get an independent voter, let's say, outside Philadelphia or outside Detroit, saying, I loathe Donald Trump. I hate that he's a convicted felon. I hate the way he treats women, but I can't stand this insecurity anymore, and maybe we need a little bit of force to settle things down. That's what he wants. I guarantee you he'll do everything to bring it about.
Those talking points, they aren't just coming from Donald Trump. They're also coming from his supporters. So, Lisa, one of the things I keep hearing repeated is this idea that, well, this could have been brought 7 years ago.
That's a ridiculous notion for a number of reasons. One, Donald Trump was president between January of 2017 and January of 2021. The office that just prosecuted him is the same office that took its efforts just to get information from Donald Trump to the Supreme Court and back twice. By the time that Alvin Bragg took office, Donald Trump had only been gone from the presidency for a matter of months. And then he did what any responsible, newly elected district attorney would do, which is to say, I'm not just going to take the word of the people who have been here before, shepherding this investigation, but I'm going to assure myself that if we bring a prosecution against a former president, the first ever, it's going to be as bulletproof as it can be. And that's what they did. So the notion that they could have brought this 7 years ago, these are old claims that were like recycling things that are almost a decade old, is, yes, the facts are almost a decade old, but that's forgetting all of the intervening period of time in which either a Manhattan prosecutor could not or was blocked from doing more because of Donald Trump's own actions, Alicia.
Ruth, I want to do the counterbalance now. So we have this raising up of authoritarianism and dictatorship as Donald Trump defines it. You had Joe Biden come back with a statement, which I'd like to play, and I want to ask you a question on the other side of it.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case. not a federal case, and it was heard by a jury of 12 citizens, 12 Americans, 12 people like you, like millions of Americans who served on juries. This jury is chosen the same way every jury in America is chosen.
So a little bit of the addressing what Lisa said in terms of how this thing came together, what type of case it was. How effective must the countermeasure, the counter narrative